How's it going, guys? Nintendo enthusiast here. So I was recently checking out one of my favorite podcasts, actually, Sacred Symbols, over at Last Stand Media, and Colin Moriarty has been talking about how he had some brand new breaking news about the upcoming BioShock 4, developed by Cloud Chamber Games, which is a brand new studio handling the BioShock IP. Keep in mind, Ken Levine and his studio, Ghost Story, are also working on a game that is rumored to be very BioShock-like, but this news is actually all about the actual BioShock, developed by the brand new studio. So anyway, Colin Moriarty dives deep into the details on how he got this news and the entire process he took to get it, but I'm just going to play the main bullet points on the new information on this new BioShock game. However, I highly recommend you go check out Last Stand Media and Sacred Symbols. It's a really awesome brand and an awesome podcast. I believe this episode specifically is currently behind a paywall, but I think it'll go public at some point in the coming days. I'll be sure to link their YouTube channel and their Patreon in the description below. Now let's hear what Colin has to say about BioShock 4.
What this person told me on background is the new BioShock game takes place in the 1960s in Antarctica in a city called Borealis. The game is apparently referred to as Parkside as its internal code name. So those were the major thrusts of what I was told that I can share. The new BioShock takes place in the 1960s in an Antarctic city called Borealis. And that the games, by the way, are interconnected, which is not a huge surprise. BioShock and BioShock Infinite, BioShock and BioShock 2 obviously take place in the same universe, they're in the same place, but BioShock and BioShock Infinite are, of course, intimately intertwined. And this game will apparently also be. I went to a news source that I hadn't worked with in a while. But this source is reliable. This source was able to tell me what we already know based on a leak that just happened a few days ago, that the game is called BioShock Immortal, and that it was planned for a VGA reveal, but we don't actually know if that's going to happen. We'll find out next time, but I was told by this source that it's actually not going to happen until maybe E3.
Okay, so let's break this down beat by beat and react to each part. First off, the game is going to be taking place in the 1960s, which is about 20 years after BioShock 1, and about 48 years after BioShock Infinite. However, he mentioned at the very end of his clip that this game will somehow tie and interconnect with the previous BioShock games. At least that's what his source either told him outright or hinted at. Now, I'm not going to be spoiling BioShock 1, 2, or Infinite because I still think there are a lot of people who probably haven't played those games yet, and I highly recommend checking them out. They are actually all on Nintendo Switch, and this is a Nintendo channel, so I'm going to shout out those versions, but they're available on pretty much every platform out there, so I highly recommend those. But yeah, if you've played BioShock, BioShock 2, and Infinite, then you know the cool ways that they interconnect with each other, and I'm really eager to see what BioShock Immortal is going to be doing with this new time period and setting, and how it's going to connect with the previous games. But speaking of the setting, this game is apparently going to be taking place in Antarctica, in a city called Borealis. Now, a lot of people assumed that the BioShock series was going to be going even higher up above the clouds into space for their next game, and I honestly think that's a pretty normal thing to assume. I feel like a BioShock game taking place in a space station could have been really awesome, but this Antarctica setting sounds really interesting as well, especially in the 1960s. Now, there are tons of hypotheticals that I could throw at you with this setting and this time period, but we obviously don't have concrete details. And the last detail we got was that the game's code name is Parkside, which honestly doesn't usually mean anything. There are tons of weird code names that don't actually connect with the actual game. I think getting the final name, BioShock Immortal, was more interesting, and honestly, to be 100% honest, I'm not the biggest fan of that name. I think it doesn't roll off the tongue very well, and I feel like Immortal is becoming really common lately, kind of like Revelations or Origins, and honestly the first thing I think of is that Diablo Immortals game, which was a mobile game that everyone hated when it got announced.
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
But either way, it's just a name, and these are all the details that we have right now. Now, Colin does elaborate a little bit on how he got this information, and how he had some other information that didn't quite align with what he had been told from this person who seems way more reliable. But like I said, I highly recommend checking out their Patreon, subscribing over there, or checking out the episode whenever it goes public. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Are you excited for the next BioShock title, or possibly Ken Levine's upcoming game that I assume is going to be pretty similar to BioShock? I honestly really want him to stick to that formula because he's so great at it. But yeah, these are two games that I'm super excited about, and it's pretty funny that they're coming from the same publisher. You have to imagine they're going to be spaced apart a little bit, and not like 6 months. I assume they're going to be at least a year apart, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. He did say in the podcast that this person said it was going to be announced at the Game Awards next week, but they believe now it's been pushed to E3 2022. I would love to get some type of BioShock Immortal tease during the Game Awards, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up. If you didn't, hit that thumbs down. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. See ya.